right, so, yeah, just really still thrilled about the way that our guys went out and competed and got a victory against a good team, especially a really, really good defense. But at the end of the day, man, it also feels good to be able to know that you didn't play as well as you possibly could have played, at least offensively. Looking at some of the things that we can get cleaned up. It's the greatest time ever. You can correct guys off of a win a lot easier than you can sometimes when things don't go the right way. So we got a few things to get corrected, of course, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And I know we'll do that. And just really, really looking forward to getting to the point where we can start stacking great performances collectively and get to the point where we can start stacking, multiple wins. That's what we have to do at this time of the season.
Scottie, when it comes to using Amon-Ra and even Laporta in the pass game as tools to block, Amon-Ra mentioned to us Sunday night that you've brought a lot of perspective from the running back room. Mm-hmm. How has it been adding that and layering that into your instruction to them and kind of teaching them the importance of these things?
I think it's the connective tissue of what we do not only here, but the true game of football, right? There's different facets of football, whereas, you talk about passing game, you talk about run game, you talk about, gadgets, all the, the things that go with it. But truly, when you connect what we do from a passing game standpoint, run game standpoint, which means a lot to me, the alignments, the splits, and the details that go with them, and then being able to use those guys in the blocking scheme in the run game, we can add quite a bit of value. The biggest thing we had to do is connect our wideouts to what our backs are seeing and what our tight ends are seeing and why we're doing it, why Ja likes the middle field safety to be left alone and maybe blocking on the perimeter is better when we're in a cutoff situation where 90% of the time you will want to go to get the deep safety. Jameer likes the space of the deep safety versus him being pressed from the exterior so he can get running and it's just not another body out there. So, those are the things that we've tried to connect and been able to use those guys. But also in our passing game, it's starting to show up, too, in the way that we are creating explosives because of the other people around. So it's just a connective tissue between everything that we do. Now our backs, I coached the backs last year more from a standpoint of what the receivers were seeing and what they were doing. And now it's flip-flop. So now that we have those two guys connected, the two rooms connected, and in our tight end room connected to it, it really gives us some flexibility in what we do.
Is this something you feel like you were able to build upon because you have that experience here last year? I know you did the backs in Indy too, and OC at Maryland. Is this something that you've learned from in other places, or was this the right place to build upon that?
Well, it's just the connective deals of everything that everywhere I've been. Like I started with, really with Coach Cut at Duke, and he taught me the passing game, the quarterback position from a perspective of managing the game. And then once you get into that part of just managing the game, there's parts that you need to happen to manage the game. It's not just about how the quarterback does it, but it's how our receivers, our backs understand when to go out, when not to go out, just our substitution method. So I would say that it started with Coach Cut back at Duke. And then from there, you just kind of you get a chance to be around great coaches, whether that's Bruce Arians and all the other guys. And everywhere that I've been, there's been, just heavy mindset on receivers in the run game. It's also a mentality of where we are, our grit, what we want to be able to put on the field. So, yeah, there's kind of the connective starting with Cut and then just being able everywhere I've been to just getting more poured onto my plate about how we're going to connect the two.
Just kind of going off that then, as these players get older and more mature and not just getting better, but knowing the game of football more, how much are they allowed to have more input on, what they like and what they want to see out there? Yeah, increasing FBI or football IQ is probably what you've heard more. It's one of our top things that we do here because, I can see it really well from the sideline. I can use my screens. I can use, even when I'm in the building, but to have a guy with Saints FBI and with Khalif's FBI and with J-Mo and D-Mo and all these guys, Sam, they're FBI on the field. I might have seen outside leverage, inside leverage, nickel safety locations pre-snap all week. And the first time they go out and they're understanding that, hey, listen now, they're giving us man-align this or they're giving us man-align zone or zone-align man. And these are the details, Coach, that I'm able to see on the field. When you get that, then that gives them the ability, because of their preparation, to have input, right? That's directly connected to confidence, but it's also connected to knowing our scheme and what they can get to in our scheme. The best thing that has happened here is that now these younger players that we've had, they've grown in this system, and this system has continued to grow. So they can pull back on the history of what they have, what's worked in the past, but only the guys that have exceptional FBI, like the guys that I just talked about.
Hear about the value of short-term memory with players a lot. Learn from your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. You've been around JMO a long time. How much better equipped is he to move past a rough day at the office than he was maybe when you first got here?
I think that was probably the biggest growth we saw was when he came in on Monday. Right, you got to come in, ready to be coached, and especially when you're in our room where the coaching is going to be direct, it's going to hit the point, but it's also going to make sure that we know that the standard is set, and we don't walk past the standard, because the moment you walk past the standard and it's dropped, then that's the new standard, right? So he understands that part of it, and then, today in the walkthrough, just his attention to detail, and it was one of those days for him, and it is some of those days, he breaks deep on the go ball after running a great route. Thinks the ball is going to be on the red line. JG is trying to take care of him from the middle field safety, gets over his left shoulder, one of the toughest catches, but we have to make it, right? And he knows that. So when you can go back and critique the detail of why we didn't make it, maybe let's have higher hands and not let it track over our shoulder down below our vision base. It can help him, and that's what he's been focused on today, just trying to find out the way to do that. Now, when I first got here, I don't know if that would have been Monday, that would have been possible, or today that would have been possible, because it would have been more about did I perform at the level that I wanted to perform at. Now it's gotten to the point of where it's, okay, did I perform at the level that I wanted to perform at? Okay, why not? How do I get it fixed? And that's the maturation process that we hoped, and we saw it. But it's also good to have people in your room to pull you along, whether it's Demo or whether it's, it's Saint, to pull you along and let them know that everybody has had those. It's very similar to a back putting the ball on the ground and having to come back after putting the ball on the ground. It's the growth that happens between the time that you put the ball on the ground and when you walk back in the building.
Chalk it up to is just one of those days, and he'll be fine this week.
I don't. There's things that I chalk it up to that, we're going to have to, clean up some things that can't just act like nothing happened, right? You got to go out and see what the problem was, the issue was. There's some things that we'll practice, of course, a little bit differently with a day added. With a day added in the practice schedule, there's things that, awareness of different things, more reps in certain situations that we can definitely fix and do a better job from our standpoint, not just the player. So we look at every single thing in the ways that we can help our players versus trying to say, hey, it's the player, this is what needs to happen. No, there's multiple things that we can do to address it.
Scottie, do you think that Amon-Ra has taken yet another step this year? I know I see the chuckle there, and just what makes him so good.
Man, I don't know. I don't know what makes him so good. I mean, I know he has pedigree. First of all, his pedigree is pretty special. We know that. Okay. The second part of it is it's just something in certain people that want to compete at the highest level. Like when you think of the Kobe's, the Jordans, these guys that are just relentless in the mindset of not only going and working on their skill, but the mental part of the game. He has it all. I mean, where is his weakness? Is a very, very hard deal to find any weakness in him, because he tries to find his weakness and he's constantly working on it, and he's turned those weaknesses into his strengths. So has he taken another level? Yes. He is a guy that is still ascending in his career. A lot of times guys get there and they plateau, but I think his biggest fear is plateau. And a lot of people want to get to a level and play at a certain level a long time. That's not his goal. His goal is to continue to get better every single year, like some of the greats that we've seen do. And I think he'll continue to do that. Special person, special player. Don't think I've been around a more prepared player walking into a game than him.
You just said, Scottie, since you've been here, is there a weakness that he has turned into a strength, and what would that be in your mind?
Man. So when I first got here, I didn't know his ability to play on the perimeter, on the edge, his route running ability on the edge. This offseason in training camp, his detail route running on the outside, being able to separate on the outside, not being a slot guy, but actually being able to go out there against number one corners and play at the level that he was playing at, separate individual cuts, all of those things. I don't know if, he's gotten so much better at it or it's just he's got more time to work on different things. But at the top of his routes right now, he's as clean as any guy out there right now at the top of his routes. And that's really usually the difference between inside guys and outside guys. They're more find the space, but these guys on the outside, they have the ability to plant, gather, turn, get out of their break and stop on a dime. Well, man, he showed he has the ability to do that.
You just said Kobe and Jordan when you described Amon-Ra's mental toughness. That is the elite of the elite. You believe he's right there?
I never compare my guys cross sports. But when I talk about mentality from what I know from afar, I don't know those two guys. But when I look at them, and I've grown up idolizing both of those guys 100%. But every time I get a deep dive on a documentary or I get to see them from afar and I'm watching them in practice settings or leading their teammates with the iron fist sometimes, pulling them along sometimes, this mentality is a rare mentality, especially today. He is a throwback player playing in today's society, and he is doing an exceptional job at it.
Just curious, Jackson Meeks, we asked you about him really early. You just talked about we're gonna need him at some point. He's gonna be important. This was the week. It was special teams, the role he was needed, but it's still that's a player that worked for a debut. To have the ability to let him know that he was going to be part of it this week. What does that mean to you as a coach?
It's special. I think some of the hardest times as coaches when you're a real coach, when you really love ball and when you really love the people that you're working with, like that's what coaching is. One of the hardest times that you go through is when you have to tell guys that they're not going to be on the initial roster. There's nothing harder than telling a guy that when he has done everything he can possibly do to be on the roster. But other circumstances sometimes don't always allow that to happen. So the closest thing to a feeling of joy that you can have is that when you do get to go back and say, hey, this is the week. I thought he did a really good job. His preparation was great, man. We're really, really proud of him. He got to continue to work. We're going to need him again. It's just going to happen. That's just what this is what this league is about. And that's why I think, Brad and Dan have done a really good job of putting the people in the building that can actually help us.
Reed and Tyrion this week. Can you just speak to the confidence level you have in Meek and Khalil and Rock and Avante and some of those guys?
Yeah, I just think from the beginning, even when we were at camp, we always talked about it's going to take all of us. Kind of our mantra every day after the practice, we just talk about it. It's always about us. And just the mindset of us being pros is, hey, when it's your opportunity, go make the most of it. So I think we kind of build that way from the beginning. We take every rep personal. If you're in there or not, you got to receive it like it's yours. And now those guys are getting some opportunities to go play on Sunday.
With Terrion, why do you think maybe we saw him look so good at times this summer and maybe it hasn't quite translated like we thought in games? What's the...
Well, it's a tough job. It's a tough position, but for him, he's just got to keep working. To keep grinding on the little things. Let the process mean more than the results. As long as he keeps his process, it's going to show up. And that's one thing at this position. You just got to stay consistent. You just got to keep working, keep grinding. Find ways, how can you get one play better? And as a young guy, especially it's only his second year, he's 21, but he's got to grow quickly, but we're working on him.
How do the injuries impact that process? Missing time this spring?
That hurts. Every rep count, but when you get your opportunities, you got to make the most of it. We don't make excuses. We either made the play or we didn't. That's how we live. It's easy to get along with in our room, and we just got to start making more than we lose.
Is there an extra eagerness in the room this week? Maybe more of a buzz from the rest of the guys? It's always a little bit. You try not to have a little bit more attention to detail when you're not playing, but it is. As a former player, those guys are really excited for their opportunity to go out and get a chance to show that they can play. And that's the big thing. All you want is an opportunity, and those guys, we have it now.
Carlton was such a great culture fit, and there's always a risk of maybe not being able to get somebody who's as good of a fit when you bring in somebody else. But DJ seems like he's fit like a glove. Just from your perspective, how does he fit along?
He's a stud. He's a pro's pro. you can tell why he's been in the league and successful so long. That's just the way he carries himself. You know, he comes to work every day. He's the same, and he wants that challenge of playing man. You know, that's who he is. And in this building, you know, that's what we're going to do. Like, we're going to line up and play man. We're going to stop the run, and we're going to try to make you win on the outside. And he is that to a T.
What does it take to want to play man in this league? Are there a lot of corners who don't want to, or?
I don't know. I just know about here. That better be your makeup.
What is it about a Meek that allows him to play so well inside and outside? Probably one of the most underrated performances was Week 18 last year, what he did in Minnesota. And just the confidence you guys have, if you stick him outside, why can he do so well, or do both so well? I
think he's worked at it. You know, that's one thing that you'll say from when we got him from Oakland to or Vegas to here. It's just how he works. You know, that he worked at being a better nickel. Like, he was a corner, you know, at La Tech and then at the Raiders. And he played nickel sparingly, but he had to work to be a nickel. And I think that was the one thing that impresses you the most, is the time that he took to make himself a really good nickel, because he's always been a corner on the outside. But to be able to do both sometimes goes overlooked.
What are the main challenges of doing both, maybe in the same game like he does sometimes?
Study-wise, it takes a little bit. You know, you're learning multiple positions. You go from being more of a outside guy, listening to what the safety says, to being an inside guy and doing a lot of stuff that the linebackers do. And that's a lot of things that goes into it. You have a lot of run-fit responsibilities, not alone as covering the dude in front of you. So it has a little bit of extra work that goes into that position that makes it a difficult position to learn.
If there's one thing we've learned about Terrion in a year here, it's that he doesn't lack confidence at all.
No.
So I guess how important is it for him to hold on to that while maybe he's...
Well, if you ride that roller coaster in anything you do in life, you're not going to be successful. You know, but the thing that we work on is just that realistic view of, let's make sure our work matches what we talk about. And that's every day. No matter what happens on the outside or when that play happens, let's make our work be the main thing. And he comes to work every day, and that's all we can ask for.
Shay, you spend the first quarter of the season kind of finding your identity schematically, what guys do best. It seemed like you really were settling into a groove with DJ in terms of his ability to travel, some of the split field stuff. Yeah. When you do lose a player for that temporarily, like, how much are you not scrambling, but, you know, rethinking how you've got to game plan as a pass game coordinator? Well,
I know one thing. We got two good safeties, and we got some good guys that's coming in to play behind him. You know, Amika's TA, you know, we're missing some of those guys, but Dorsey will be ready, Rock will be ready. Next man up. You know, one thing we talk about is you have to win the leverage, and you have to win your one-on-ones, no matter who it is that's out there. That's got to be our mindset. And I think the biggest thing is just taking that mentality and that challenge and helping those guys be successful. How can I put you in the right leverage? How can I talk about what we're doing? And something that goes on me as a coach, too, to get those guys ready to go.
Rock has seen a ton of different schemes and coaches. I think 5 teams in 5 years, 6 teams in 6 years, something like that. You guys even experimented a little bit with versatility and safety play this offseason. You know, what have you grown to really appreciate about the way he plays the game?
You know, he's, you know, at the beginning of training camp, we all have to come with a word, and Rock's word was diligent, and that's who he is. Like, he comes to word, and he approaches his work the same every day. Like, he's diligently trying to learn safety. He understands what to do at corner, and especially if you're in that role as a 4th or 5th corner and you want to last in the league, you better have some versatility, and he understands that.
Deshea is a former corner and now a coach on that side. What makes Amon-Ra so tough to?
Ra? Yeah. He's yeah, that part. I think it's just his mentality. You know, like you find those receivers that don't mind doing it all, you know, and he is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to come to work regardless and give you a great day's effort. Reminds me a lot of my old teammate Hines Ward. Both of those were physical players. They can go out and catch the ball. They'll go in and block. They do whatever it takes for the team. And when you have a guy like that, it makes it tough. But it makes us better because I'm on his team. And so, you know you're going to get a consistent effort every time you go play against him.
Would you cover him to help
Help is always good.
Back to what you said about, Rock, diligent. Do you require the players to come with the word? Is that you having that word?
It's just kind of like we talk about our building blocks as a secondary. Like we just call it bricks, and every day we come with something for our foundation, and that was his word, and that's who he is. Like he approaches it. That's why he's been in the league 6, 7 years, 5, 6 years, however it is, because that's how he works, and that's the type of guy that he is.
I asked Coach O'Neill about him last week, I believe, but Thomas Harper was a guy you added off waivers, said the nickel's kind of been his primary role. How do you like the way he's kind of fitting in schematically with you guys?
Yeah, he's learning. It's always a little bit of a learning curve to get a guy in, late like that, but he's picking up that piece of it well, but his movement skills have been excellent. Like I saw him break one day in practice and broke up a go ball against Tesla, and it was pretty good. So you can see the athletic ability, and now it's just whenever he gets his opportunity, it's just to have him mentally ready for it, and that's always the challenge.
Can't get out of here without asking about Chase or Higgins. What goes into stopping those guys, no matter who's throwing them the ball?
Hey, let's keep them off the field. That's the biggest way. Those guys are super talented. They can do it all. They can catch the hitch and go. They can catch the go for a touchdown. So you just got to know where they are at all times. Make sure you're super sensitive where they're aligned. Just try to be where they're at every moment and not slip on where those guys are, because they can beat you when you know it. So if you don't know it, you're really in trouble.
Deshea, if Amik bounces outside and Avante has to step up and play some nickel, just how confident are you in him fulfilling that role?
Man, it's a couple things we say is the reason that you're here, and that's the reason that he's here. Is that he's capable, he's done it, he's been in the league for a minute, so it's just the next man up mentality.
Who's the best player you ever faced, and what do they teach you?
Man, well, I always say all of them can score on you. Like, I always think about what quarterback I'm going against when I am playing against them, but I just think it's, we always talk about it, 59 good plays at corner. The 60th play, you give up one, you feel like you played bad. So you got to be on it at all times. Like at our position, offense, 3 bad plays, they punt. 3 bad plays by the defense is 21, especially by the secondary. So we have to live a little bit different. Like we have to work at it. We can't have a slip up, because if we have a slip up, it's going to hurt the team. So I think the biggest thing learning from that is just that consistent effort. Try not to be the guy, and if I give up one, let's make it back.